Here we go.
Straight from our own personal Legoland, it is the Confirmed Epic Podcast, the official podcast of the epicreview.com. I am the real Brad Bell, and joining me today, as always, is
Jerry Reed, also known as Barbecue 17.
And back in the saddle again is the long-awaited return of a very special epic reviewer. He is
Andrew Stokes, also known as Andrew Stokes.
And in case you're just tuning in for the first time to the Confirmed Epic Podcast, I'm going to set things up for you a little bit. First, we always dive into what we've been checking out. This week can come from the world of comic books, come from the world of movies, TV show, collecting, whatever it may be. Sometimes we'll even throw a little video games into the mix. Then we dive into the epic news, the news that we deem to be epic from that week from the worlds of collecting, movies, TV, and etc. And we always have a featured review. This week it is a movie review from Phil Lord and Chris Miller's The Lego Movie. So Jerry Reed, let's get things rolling. What have you been checking out this week?
Well, the past Sunday, we're recording this, what is this, the 8th? Today? Yeah, past Sunday, last Sunday.
Really want to date it.
Was a really big day, and everybody was, watching their TV, glued to their TV all day, and so was I, as I watched all 3 of the Robocop films.
Womp womp.
So that was a really fun way to spend the day, and I've seen the first Robocop many times. I've seen 2 a couple times, but I honestly can't remember if I've ever actually had seen 3 before.
Really?
And surprisingly, I liked 3 better than 2.
3 is just, we talked about bad movies last week.
Yeah.
How would you classify on your vomiting scale? How would you classify the third Robocop?
So on the vomiting scale, I think Robocop is that it's definitely cheesy, but I think they realize it's kind of cheesy. I mean, it's PG-13, so they're obviously trying to gear, they were trying to gear it towards kids a little bit at the time. Robocop had a toy line, Robocop had a cartoon series, Robocop had a video game, so obviously they wanted the kids to come into the theater. So it's one of those that it's just everyone's vomiting because they're just having a good time.
Yeah, like the kid Ralphing at the lunch table, as you described it last
Sure.
week.
This would be more like I was in high school, we would do the gallon challenge. We'd try to drink all the milk, and everybody would just throw up and enjoy it and think it was funny and record it. This is kind of what Robocop 3 was. So I enjoyed it, but
that was a big sign of relief after watching I, Frankenstein to see a good, bad movie.
Oh, man, loved it. Loved Robocop 3, so... what can I say? I think I watched more of a battle that day between Robocop and Omnicorps than anybody watching the Super Bowl saw.
That's true, yeah, that Super Bowl, right? Andrew Stokes was just not that epic at all, was it?
Oh, that already happened? I must have slept through it.
Yeah, your bookie hasn't called you yet?
Yeah.
To collect?
Oh, my goodness, that was...
You had the Broncos plus the points, right?
Oh, yeah, you know it.
Now, the Super Bowl was a little bit of a letdown. But, yeah, the RoboCop series is so interesting. It goes from this kind of standalone, the first film, just so gory, very epic film.
But a lot of satire in there as well.
Yeah, it has kind of that tongue-in-cheek humor to go along with that semi-serious story. And then they kind of take themselves less and less serious as the series goes on. But we're going to talk more kind of about the RoboCop movies as a retrospective in our RoboCop episode next week. So not to rain on Jerry's omnicorp.
Are you robophobic, Brad?
Yeah, I'm not robophobic.
Okay, just asking.
Just checking.
But we're just going to say
2014
for the next episode. What about you, Andrew Stokes? What have you been checking out?
Well, I've been continuing my quest that is catching up on everything for the rest of my life. Recently, I've been playing Last of Us and reading Game of Thrones.
And you're almost caught up to the TV series, right?
I am almost caught up to the TV series until Season 4 starts, and then I'll be right behind again. But I'm almost to where, from what I've been told, where Season 3 ends. I love the books. Really good. I haven't watched any of the TV show before, so I don't know how I'm going to like that, but I assume I'll like it. Everybody seems to like it. Last of Us, on the other hand, fantastic game. Love Last of Us.
You bought a PlayStation 3
just to play Last of Us.
just to play Last of
Just to
Us.
play, yep.
And right as PlayStation 4 launched, you did not really care. You really wanted to play this game.
I'm not a big next gen fan. I mean, there's some games I want to play, but until and there has to be more there, and there has to be more people playing. I play a lot of multiplayer. It's not often I play just single player games. I normally find myself playing multiplayer, and if not that, then I'm just watching Netflix.
And I'm completely the opposite. I hardly ever play multiplayer, and I'll always just play single player. So Last of Us really appeals to me.
Even
I do want to play it.
Even single player games, I kind of play multiplayer. Like Last of Us, whenever I play Last of Us, there's always people here watching me saying, "Oh, you should do this. Oh, you should do that." It's like lately,
There's really people here watching you, or
real people.
There
real
are
people,
air quotations, watching.
real people.
Okay,
Not,
just want to check.
Definitely not made up.
You bring up a good point I wanted to ask about Last of Us. The end of the last generation of gaming kind of saw games become like Uncharted 3, become more and more cinematic, almost as if you were playing a film. Do you feel like you were playing like a movie that's say very well written?
Definitely.
And that's been a trend for a while. I mean, I really think the first game that really felt like you were watching a movie was Metal Gear Solid on the original PlayStation.
It did, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking like credits. And I mean, the way the credits popped up as the game was still starting, and the number of cutscenes. I mean, there were lots of earlier games that were...
Wait, you mean the Metal Gear series franchise isn't movie? I thought it was.
I thought it was a giant movie.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 2 maybe was.
Yeah.
But
the fourth one, too.
I remember... I remember when I was at my grandmother's and my cousin was over there, and I started playing, Metal Gear Solid, and I mean, really, I was like, "Do you want to swap back and forth?" And he's like, "No, I just want to watch it." Like, it really was one of those things that completely, just completely
kind of transcended the gaming genre.
I remember they talked about with Metal Gear Solid that the script for that game was like 4 or 5 times larger. It was significantly larger than a typical Hollywood film.
I definitely feel like when you're talking about video games versus a movie or DVD you'd buy, or even go see in a theater, you definitely, in my opinion, get more hours of entertainment per your dollar out of a video game, even though it costs more than going to the movie or buying a movie.
Yeah.
And I really think there are games like Last of Us and Red Dead Redemption that are kind of showing that video games still have this stigma of being childish and immature. Yeah. But I really think that these type of games are giving it a better name.
I agree with that statement, and it's so fascinating to watch. Like Jerry's talking about Metal Gear, the original Metal Gear being the first video game to feel like a movie. And it felt like a movie, but guess what, guys? Now it looks like a movie.
Yeah.
And to have people actually stop and watch you play it, they're not doing that if this looks like little pixels, right? I mean, they may have until they hadn't seen anything like that. Like back in the day, that's all we had seen.
Sure.
But nowadays, it doesn't matter who walks in. Grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, they're like, wow, holy crap. Like some of the stuff they're showing for Titanfall on the Xbox One, I have an Xbox One. Don't ask me why. I'm not a gamer. I got caught up in next-gen hype. Got one around launch. Found one on Black Friday. I'm like, I got to get it. I played it maybe all of an hour. However,
now he stands Hot Toys on it.
Yeah, now I stand Hot Toys on it. And now I see the credits for Titanfall. Everybody's talking about Titanfall. And I'm like, wow, this could be that first time I put the disc into that next-gen console and see, like, wow, we're at next gen. I remember that with the Xbox 360. I'm like, okay, Call of Duty 2 is pretty cool. The sports games were cool. Project Gotham Racing was pretty sweet. And then Gears of War. Everybody started talking about this new series. Like, this was going to define what next gen was. I see them playing it on G4, and I'm like, yeah, right. I want to see if it really looks this good when I'm actually playing it. A game can look good, not necessarily play well.
Sure.
Well, it did both. I put it in. I remember being blown away and like, holy crap. And what a feeling that is. And I hope to get that with Titanfall. I may just borrow my brother's copy if Xbox and Microsoft will allow me to do that still.
Yeah, absolutely now.
Yeah, they will now.
Titanfall is a cross-gen game.
Yeah.
It is still going to be on like 360 and stuff as well.
Really?
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
But to get the true next-gen experience,
Sure.
Andrew Stokes, you got to go ahead and buy Xbox
Actually, Xbox One is this gen now.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's still called next gen, but yeah, it is this gen
It's
now.
this gen. I guess you do have to classify it. Do you have to classify it as this gen? Because I feel like most of the games still
I have
are
seen
coming
people
out.
be corrected about it very strongly on message
I think we're
boards.
Okay.
on the cusp of it becoming
Transitioning.
Yeah. Because I
Okay.
still hear people call it next gen, and some people correct, and some people call it this gen. But I mean, PS3 and Xbox 360 are still so big. There's still plenty of games that are coming out for them that.
When
Absolutely.
y'all are talking about the cinematic, the cinematic games and stuff, one of the things that really jumps out to me is the Walking Dead game.
I was just saying, Telltale's Walking Dead.
Yeah.
It's barely a video game.
and even Fables.
Yeah,
Fables
yeah.
game.
The Wolf Among Us.
And so one of the things that I think is interesting about those games is that they're trying to preserve the some aspect of the interactive experience of games, the decision making, while making them really accessible to people.
Yeah.
Because I have my wife. I have friends that I think would really get into games, but they're just terrible at them, or they just don't understand them. That's the hardest thing. Is a lot of times with games, there's a learning
curve.
There's a learning curve there, and so there's so many RPGs and things. I'm talking to my wife. I'm like, I don't understand. I think you would just love this, and it's just the controller is just super intimidating, and once again, you're really trying to distance and explain to somebody. It's not going to be the same as when I'm sitting there yelling at the TV because I'm playing Halo Online. It's going to be much different than your experience when you're playing a good single player innovative RPG or a mystery or something along those lines. So.
And it's definitely a big investment, not only financially, but like you said, you have that investment of time.
Sure.
And with video games, there's
and having to learn it.
Absolutely. Two different investments of time. There's the time you put in to get over that learning curve of actually transitioning from somebody who plays games to maybe what we would call a gamer. And then there's the investment of time of taking on these massive stories. We can pop a movie in and watch it in 2 hours, but to beat a game, you're looking at 9 hours, 8 hours at the least.
Depends what you're playing.
And it can be up to 20, 30 hours, some bigger RPGs and whatnot. And I was listening to a local radio show, and one of the guys on there was pumped up about Titanfall. He had just got the Xbox One, had just got into gaming, had never been a gamer. And he talked about how he is enjoying it. He loves it so much. He's past the learning curve. But he says, I'm losing time for so much other stuff.
Sure.
Video games can suck your time away very quickly. Whereas a comic book or something, 10 minutes to read a comic book, 5 minutes to read a comic book.
Depends how many comic books you're reading.
Yeah,
and how
if
big
you're
they
like
are.
us, we're reading a lot.
I
was
have
talking about
piles
single
at the house
issues.
to go through and other books.
Absolutely, me as well. But it is a big investment, time and money.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about two new things I've been checking out this week. They are part of, I guess it happened in 2012, the Marvel Now relaunch. First of all,
2012?
yeah, the
Wow.
Marvel Now relaunch was 2012, which was their version of the New 52. Let's just come out and say it. They felt the need to relaunch as well. And one of the...
But they didn't relaunch everything. I just want to clarify,
No.
right? They only did certain titles
Kinda
where
simplified it.
DC mandated everything across the board had to
X-Men
reboot.
relaunched, Uncanny X-Men, The Amazing Spider-Man ended, it became Superior Spider-Man. It wasn't... I'm trying to think of what books they didn't relaunch. Obviously nothing in the Ultimates line, but they relaunched pretty much everything, nearly everything. But it's just the New 52 was the first to do it, and it had such wide press coverage. Marvel Now got that coverage, but not as much. But, I'd read some of the Avengers stuff and the Spider-Man stuff with Marvel Now, but some of the stuff I was waiting for trade. And you never know what you're going to get when you open a new number one. All right, is this just going to be the same story rehashed, just looking a little more prettier, or is it going to be actually more well-written and whatnot? Well, I got into reading Thor God of Thunder by Jason Aaron with art by Asad Ribic. And I have to say, I was very pleased. They give Thor a new enemy here who is called Gore. Yeah, imagine that. You have Thor and Gore, right? Not Al Gore, who invented the internet.
G-O-R-E or G-O-R?
G-O-R-R is how they spell it.
Okay.
And Gore is a god butcher, and he goes around killing gods. And interestingly enough, it sets up 3 different timelines. There's a timeline in the present where he encounters Gore, a timeline in the past where he encountered Gore for the first time, and then there's a timeline where Thor is the king of Asgard and kind of encounters Gore. So you have this 3 different sets of story kind of intertwining, connecting together, and you have a brand new villain, somebody who is worthy enough to fight Thor, somebody who can kill gods. We don't know a lot about Gore's backstory because, unfortunately, the first trade with this was only, I believe this story was 10 issues or 8 issues, and the trade only had the first 5.
Okay.
And then I also checked out the brand new Captain American series by Rick Remender with art by John Romita Jr. And I have to say, I love this Captain America series. I absolutely loved it. The reason I did is because it took the character and did something completely different with him. Rather than all World War II kind of espionage spy type stuff that Ed Brubaker had done on his last run, all the Winter Soldier stuff that the upcoming film on April 4th is going to be based on, we had kind of space-centered stuff. And Armin Zola is kind of the main bad guy here. And Captain America...
Not wrapped in Passerica?
No, it's Armin Zola.
Okay. So they had to build a spaceship? Build a spaceship?
There's no, not build a spaceship, build a spaceship. It's a Lego movie reference. We're getting there, guys. But I love this because it flashes back to Cap's days as a kid, growing up in Manhattan. He had an abusive father. It's new stuff added to it. They kind of added new stuff to the Captain America mythos, how his dad abused his mother and whatnot. And Cap, gets in a time warp. They're investigating a time warp, and he gets sent to an alternate reality, Dimension Z. All right, not Dimension X, like in TMNT, which is owned by Paramount Pictures, all right, reserved. No, not from them. He gets caught in Dimension Z, and he actually encounters Armin Zola and escapes, and he on his way out. Is he the
guy that's like in somebody's body, like Krang from Dimension X?
He looks like Krang. Yeah. But of course, Armin Zola was around before that.
Yeah, so I know he's been a while. So
you would say Krang maybe was the inspiration. I mean, Armin Zola was kind of the inspiration for Krang, but
he was a build-a. He was a Arnim Zola was a build-a-figure in one of the most recent Marvel Legends series.
I don't know how I know that.
Did you complete that one?
No, I the only Marvel Legends thing I've completed in years, or even bought in years, was the Iron Man 3 stuff, just to get Warmonger.
I was like, calm down.
It's not DC, all right? Calm down.
Yeah, it's not DC, but Zola has manufactured his own children. On the way out, Cap grabs one of these kids, and he spends
Cap kidnapped one of the kids.
Yeah, he kidnaps one of the kids because
sometimes he got kidnapped.
This was justified.
Or Kid Cap.
Kid Cap. Very clever play on words, Andrew Stokes, also known as Andrew Stokes. However, he spends 10 years in this time in Dimension Z with this kid who he names Ian, and they're trying to get back. So obviously I hadn't finished the story. We don't know how this affects his timeline with the Avengers, but one of my good friends who's a big comic book geek was telling me it does. He didn't want to spoil it for me.
Let me see the book.
But it's very well written. The art is pretty good. If you're familiar with John Romita Jr., obviously the son of John Romita Sr., who kind of defined Spider-Man, I believe, arguably almost more than Steve Ditko did. However, John Romita Jr.'s Andrew Stokes giving me a bad look. He's who do you think defined Spider-Man? We know who it is. Mark, what's his name? Bagley?
I mean, he definitely helped define the look of current Spider-Man that Marvel seems to be portraying heavily.
I feel like it's more like a Todd McFarlane version.
But we're going to hold that, guys. Keep that in the can, because we're going to discuss that at some point on this podcast.
My spider sense is tingling.
We're going to discuss who... It's a big
So it's my gag reflex.
It's a debate between us.
You haven't even seen the movie yet.
It's a debate between us, kind of who the inspiration for the new look of Spider-Man is, and Mark Webb's The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
The artists that worked on this series of the movies are
whether
clearly
it's
based
Todd
off
McFarlane,
of.
whether it's Mark Baglier, and Jared just doesn't give a crap because he's had my copy of the Amazing Spider-Man for like 9 months.
Yeah.
I gave it to him when his wife got pregnant, and then they've had the
We've
baby
had a
now.
child.
They've had 2 children since
and
then.
I still have not watched The Amazing Spider-Man.
But I'm going to wrap up. But
Thank you.
this art by John Romita Jr., if you know his art, it's almost kind of blocky. He's the guy who did all the art for Kick-Ass. And when he's on, like he is in these first 2 issues, he is one of the best artists, in my opinion, in comics. But boy, does he get lazy once it gets to about issue 3 or 4. And stuff just becomes blocker and blocker. I feel like I'm watching the Lego version of Captain America.
It's 2014. He has stuff to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's focused on finishing Kick-Ass is what he's doing. And because he never, as bad as he kind of gets lazier in some of his Marvel stuff, he puts, since he is the defining look of Kick-Ass, he puts all of his efforts into that. What about anything else you've been checking out, Jerry Reed? Nothing really?
Nothing really too much. I feel like I've been busy, but I've probably been more busy with work stuff
Yeah, me too. I've been really
than
busy with
anything
school
else.
Andrew Stokes.
I did
School
want
and
to
work,
just
really,
kind of comment a little bit on a story this past week that really, I guess it really, I don't know if touched me is the right word, but it really caught my attention. There was a story about a young guy, also from the Hollywood foothills of North Carolina, an 11-year-old kid who was really made fun of at school. It sounded like, bullied pretty heavily, and the kid was a self-admitted brony, and ended
just
up,
like Jerry is.
yeah, I like the show a lot, and so he ended up, attempting suicide a couple weeks ago. And
How old was he?
He was 11, which I'm trying to think 11. I wouldn't even have think that would even have been in my mind, to understand what that was even hardly. But there seems to be like just so much support. Most of the cast has reached out to him of the show My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. Some of his favorite bands like the Pentatonics and
Love Pentatonics.
there was a violin player, because the kid was a violin player, that reached out. The 501st Star Wars Legion, they've been there. And just lots of people have been donating, not only to help out this family with medical bills, but also to I think they're working to try to start, or fund some more anti-bullying initiatives, and maybe even some work on like traumatic brain injury as well. Because
And Jerry, you wrote a very, I believe, touching and kind of deeply insightful kind of piece on that over at the website.
Yeah.
And your message pretty much was just, let people enjoy the things that they want to enjoy, right?
it's one of the things that I think is just so I don't know, so prevalent. And I mean, I was even thinking I was doing some research for probably a Batman figure I was reviewing, and it was the Keaton. It was the quarter scale Keaton
The
Batman
NECA.
from NECA, yeah. And so I went on a site. I was trying to get some good pictures of some of his armor, pieces of armor, because it was tough to see from just regular movie stills. And we're not talking people having like a good fun debate about,
Like we did over the
yeah,
Spider-Man.
we're talking about people that were just, saying like horribly cruel, awful things to each other because one person liked Keaton and one person liked Christian Bale better. And it was not like I like one better, than the other, or I prefer this one. It was like, if you don't like this one, every,
negative adjective in the book.
exactly. And it just made me think that, how often, even in fandom and stuff, we really just get overly negative with each other with things
And
that
it can give people like us, collectors, movie fans, especially comic book fans,
Yeah.
kind of a bad name where people in the critical community just don't give a crap about our opinions because
Yeah.
they think we're nutso because the eyes on the Spider-Man suit don't look like we think they should. But
Yeah.
that's just the way we are. We're passionate. We want to express ourselves. But
And
continue.
it just made me think about how, just sometimes how much respect we need to have for people. It's been great to see the outpouring of, support from fans and really just hopefully support for anybody who feels like they're alone and, by themselves and that they're always being bullied or put down all the time, that they feel like, okay, people do reach out. There are people out there that care about them and stuff. And we were kind of talking a little bit about, me and a couple other friends, about stuff we remember, being kind of bullied over. don't know I was as bullied as much, but I do remember, being made fun of because I used to wear Star Wars shirts all the time. So
Nerd.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you bring that up. And they were having this conversation on the hit AMC show Comic Book Man one night about how people used to look at things like superheroes and comic books in such of a geeky negative connotation.
yeah.
And now it's kind of like, we're king, boys. We rule everything, because guess who's the kings of Hollywood? These superhero
Yeah.
movies. And it's not just guys who live in their parents' basement that go to see these
Or
movies.
the carriage house.
Or their carriage house that go to see these movies. All right, this is, wealthy people, very successful, well-to-do people from all walks of life. And the studios know it. That's why they keep making these movies. And people are finally getting to see these beloved characters that people like us have cherished for years and years and years and years. Right, Jerry?
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe, who knows? I think kind of already with the new My Little Pony show, you're kind of seeing it transition like in the pop culture and in the mainstream thought, right?
Yeah.
And who knows? 10 years from now, there could be a My Little Pony movie grossing, $500 million.
The
You
gritty
never know.
reboot for My Little Pony.
The gritty reboot.
The untold
yeah.
story, My
So-
Little Pony. So yeah, just let people be themselves.
Pinkie Pie's
guys.
like, do you want to know where I got this cutie mark?
Wow.
So-
And on that note, we'll move on to something very awkward. On an awkward note, that awkward moment. Andrew, bromance or chick flick?
I haven't
From the trailer, based on the trailer.
I haven't seen it, but it definitely looks like a chick flick to me. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I've seen plenty of chick flicks that I've enjoyed, regardless of the fact that it's not a genre that really appeals to me that much. But I would definitely say definitely looks like a chick flick.
I saw the trailer for this movie, and I was trying to debate in my head what it was. To me,
I'm trying to rationalize wanting to see this movie.
Because it had Michael B. Jordan, it had Miles Teller, two great young actors I love. Of course, it had Zac Efron. I don't think he's as bad of an actor as everybody says he is.
I'm trying to think if I've ever seen a movie he's in.
I'm trying to think if I've ever
Charlie
heard,
St. Cloud was.
I'm trying to think if I've ever heard a discussion about whether he can act or not. Normally, it's he's a good-looking guy. It's all I hear about him. So
Yeah, he looks like he's just put together.
What was he from?
professionally.
High School Musical?
He was designed by committee.
Yeah, that's what he looks
All
like.
right, I do have to tell y'all something super weird.
Okay, go ahead.
Do y'all know what Walt Disney's last two words were?
High School.
I'm thinking of very inappropriate things.
Yeah. Kurt Russell.
Really?
He said the name Kurt Russell. Isn't that weird?
That's a very epic tangent. But back to Zac Efron, who,
It's
by
weird.
the way, they're talking about Zac Efron may be up for a role in Star Wars Episode 7. So
I saw that he has confirmed that he's talked with them about it.
Of course, he's, in close with the Disney execs. He made them a ton of money.
Well,
with
Kurt
that High
Russell
School
was the
Musical
highest
stuff.
Disney star for like the 60s and early 70s.
Really?
In all like the computer wore tennis shoes and all these movies. That's why it was relevant.
Maybe Zac Efron is the next Kurt Russell.
Well,
Is
who
that
knows?
what you're saying?
Who
Kurt
died to
Russell,
Zac Efron?
Kurt Russell went on to make The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China.
What were his Disney movies? Because I'm blanking here.
All of the computer wore tennis shoes and like all those movies that related around that. Honestly, I have no clue. I have no clue what. all
But
the
he
movies
was
were.
in like a lot of Disney
Oh, he was in
films.
tons of like the Disney family movies of the the late 60s, early 70s.
Okay. But that awkward moment. I was trying to rationalize going to see this movie. Andrew and I were having this conversation, and he's like, it's a chick flick, dude.
Yeah,
I'm like,
pretty
dang,
much.
I really want to see it. So I talked to my fiance, and I didn't really talk. I said, hey, would you like to go see this? She's like, what's it about? I was like, well, these three guys living in New York, kind of out on the prowl.
And she said, "Oh, that chick flick. Yeah, I can't
and
wait
she's
to see
like, yeah, I'll go see it. And she did not. She said, I'll determine after whether it's a chick flick or not. So we get in there, we're watching it, and the movie actually has a pretty decent message. That awkward moment is what Zac Efron describes in the film as that moment when a relationship goes from, maybe just a fling or just seeing each other to actually a full-scale, serious, exclusive relationship. And he says that awkward moment always starts with a so. Like, so, where is this going? So, what's this relationship? Is this anything? Well, I believe that's not the true message of this film. I think I'm looking.
Are you
very
reviewing
deep.
it right now?
I'm sorry. I'm not going to review it. I got a review coming on the site this week for the 3 people who actually may want to read that. However,
the 3 principal actors.
I think that awkward moment.
Michael B. Jordan's like, I like to go on fan sites and see how people review my movies.
Yeah,
Kurt Russell's checking out anything Zac Efron does.
He's hoping that we can pitch him to be the next Johnny Storm, guys. That's what Michael B. Jordan's hoping. And they say Miles Teller may be Mr. Fantastic. That's a pretty young Mr. Fantastic.
Sounds fantastic to me.
However, I believe that awkward
sounds a bit
moment,
of a stretch.
and what this film talks about is kind of that phase in your life when you kind of have to grow up a little bit. When you have to decide.
I'm not. What is that? What was I supposed to do that?
When you have to balance, being with your bros and putting serious effort into a relationship when you're with someone you care about very deeply.
Pretty sure you're supposed to do one or the other, in my experience.
And as I described that, I'm like, yes, it sounds like a chick flick. Abby and I are sitting there. Abby's my fiance, by the way. We're sitting there, and Zac Efron. There's some really well-written jokes, and there's Miles Teller, who I believe is a phenomenal actor. However, it feels like he's doing a Jonah Hill impression, but it's still pretty funny the whole time. But we get there. That's like the first hour. And this movie kind of bounces between a bromance, kind of like I Love You, Man, with younger actors, to just chick flick. It's like back and forth. And then at the end, Zac Efron's got an outpouring of love. He's like, pronouncing his undying love for this girl. And Abby turns to me and says, yeah, it's a chick flick. As a tear starts rolling down, not my eye, but Zac Efron's eye in the film, she's like, it's a chick flick. So
it's hard. So, they really straddle that line between chick flick and comedy. A lot of movies do. And
it's smart, though, because it gets the males in. It's a date movie material,
right? The one movie that I see, I've heard people from both sides of the fence argue about the most, I think, is Wedding Crashers.
Really?
Because Wedding Crashers had a big romantic plot, but it was also very funny. It had like Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson. They were big comedic actors at the time, and still are to some degree.
Have you seen The Internship?
I haven't. Have you?
I haven't either.
I hear it's terrible. I want to see it.
Yeah, I love Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. But anyway, I mean, I've seen people argue. Some people are like, that's obviously a chick flick. Like, you know what I mean? Especially the ending, I can see that. But a lot of sitcoms are the same way. A lot of sitcoms are based around, does the guy get the girl, will they or won't they type.
Yeah, How I Met Your Mother.
Friends, one of my favorite show of all time.
I'd classify those as great shows. I wouldn't necessarily say these are chick shows.
Right, yeah. They're not One Tree Hill or anything.
No, which I actually enjoy that show. So
what?
By the way, yeah, I'll admit, I enjoy One Tree Hill.
It's okay if you enjoy that.
Yeah, just, I'm not going
to bully you.
Okay.
I'll make fun of you, I won't bully you.
Alright, so on that note, let's go ahead and get into epic news this week.
Did we not start that already?
No, we're not epic news.
This is just you haven't done this in a while, have you?
No.
Yeah, this is
We've just been rambling for the past half hour.
That's okay.
That's what we've been checking out.
Epic news, yeah.
So, epic news. Epic news this week. We'll start really quick with a very sad piece of epic news. At 46 years old, legendary actor, Academy Award-winning actor for Capote, Phillip Seymour Hoffman, was found dead in his Manhattan apartment from a heroin overdose. And it's very sad news indeed. We're not going to dwell on the ins and outs of his addiction and stuff. We're going to remember him for the great actor he was. But it's going to lead us into a topic relating to Phillip Seymour Hoffman. He had one final scene to shoot in The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 coming out in 2015. Part 1 he finished shooting coming out in 2014, in which he plays Heavens B. Plutarch, who is the head gameskeeper from the Hunger Games films.
What is the name?
Heavens B. Plutarch. It's a Hunger Games name, Jerry.
Okay.
He's a great character.
He's
a great character in the book, and Phillip Seymour Hoffman was great as him in Hunger Games too. I would say.
Yeah.
You saw it, right,
Yeah.
Andrew?
Really good in Catching Fire.
Yeah, he was really well done in that movie. So, is it okay?
Yes.
To go back and digitally recreate someone who has passed away in a film? What is it moral? Is it amoral? Do you guys see any problems, Stokes?
It's weird. I feel like most actors would want to finish what they began. I know if I believe if I was an actor and passed away like Paul Walker or Phillip Seymour Hoffman, excuse me, did, before I was finished, I would obviously want them to use what I had done. And, I would, I don't know.
It's a fine line because does this open up Pandora's box, so to speak, and lead to them recreating actors who have passed away, bringing them back?
That was, when George Lucas and a number of other filmmakers spoke before, gosh, who was it? Was it a Congress? Was they spoke before Congress? This was like the late 80s when Turner was trying to colorize a bunch of movies. And Lucas and all these other directors got up and spoke about the need to preserve, cinematic history because it was it was American it was our culture. Film was our culture, and just like we wouldn't want someone to change
Star Wars
art or historical documents, we wouldn't want people to change films that had been set aside as being significant. And one of the things Lucas brought up was going back. I mean, what if somebody was to go back and take a movie that was popular and say, okay, we're just going to add in the latest popular actors now? I mean, obviously that's a little bit far-fetched example, but I think you're right. I feel in this issue that finishing the movie is important. If the actors started the project and, once again, this was not like Phillip Seymour Hoffman saying, I don't want to finish this film or something. This was an issue where a tragedy struck and it was the project he was working on. It seems like you would want, as an actor, you would want the film to be finished. Of course, as, respectful as possible. And, lots of movies have had this problem in the past. I think the most famous example, and probably the worst example, is Ed Wood. When he was directing the film Plan 9 from Outer Space, one of the characters was played by Bela Lugosi, who famously played Dracula in the original Universal Pictures Dracula film. Bela Lugosi died halfway through filming, and so they just got another guy in there to play him and always kept his face covered with a cape.
What was that movie? Wasn't it Heath Ledger? That was
the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus was another one where they took a different route, and they had a lot of people who were friends of Heath Ledger.
Almost as a tribute.
Yeah, as a tribute. Come in and play the same character, but obviously just acknowledge we know this is not the same actor. I would imagine here, what did they say? They had so much filming left for him?
7 days left.
Yeah.
But it was one scene that apparently was a pretty decent scene, big-size scene toward the end of the film that they are going to digitally recreate his likeness. And I just wonder, what does that entail? Does that simply mean he's there or he's actually speaking? I mean, it's almost kind of scary if you think about it.
Yeah.
But
they're going to pass it over to Lucasfilm.
No, that would be really scary if they did that.
These are called the Plutarch.
No, that's too soon.
I'm sorry.
The prequels just came out not long ago. Whatever happened? Are they still doing the 3D remakes of those? Or did those tank already?
They canceled those.
Oh, because Disney bought.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just, I wrote on the site, I said, I hate we'll never get to see this guy play the Penguin. And guess what? He never was probably going to play the Penguin, but guess what?
Never say never.
He was always rumored. He was always linked. He was apparently, Nolan had pondered doing the Penguin in one of his Batman films, and the guy he wanted was Phillip Seymour Hoffman. And anybody that's seen Mission Impossible 3 plays the main bad guy, Owen Davey, and he's just phenomenal. I mean, he can do funny. If you've seen Along Came Polly.
Twister.
Is he in Twister?
He's in Twister.
Seymour Hoffman's in Twister. Yeah. I did not know that. Wow, I need to go back and watch Twister.
Everybody who's anybody is in Twister.
Twister.
There was that cow. There was that other cow.
There was the girl. It's Helen Hunt. Yeah.
And Bill Paxton.
I need to go back and watch Twister. But anyway, we hate to lose such an acting legend. May he rest in peace. Let's move on to some Marvel movie news and a lighter note. Now, apparently, there's been one new character confirmed for the Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. We have Paul Bettany playing the Vision. Andrew Stokes, what do you think about this? You're a big Marvel fanboy like myself.
Considering that he does the voice for Jarvis, I think it definitely sends a flag that Iron Man. I mean, I haven't kept up on news. Maybe they've already
Iron
confirmed
Man
this.
is creating Ultron.
Okay, well, I mean, see that, and that seems it sounds great. It's almost, to me, goes back to when they first decided to tie all these movies together. It's like they have this continuous thing, and it all makes sense. The guy that does the voice is also playing this guy, and I think it works out well. I mean, I like the character vision. If he's what he's gonna bring to the movie is a different story. I think he definitely ties.
Will he be all digital? You think?
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. But I mean, you mean sort of like the Hulk kind of?
Yeah.
Very possibly.
The Vision.
It would be kind of weird to just have a guy in a suit or painted.
Think about it. If Stark creates Ultron. Stark created Jarvis. The Vision is almost kind of the evolution of Jarvis, perhaps in this case, right? It could be the evolution of that same AI.
Does Ultron does Ultron create Vision in the?
I'm not sure.
In typical canon.
They're linked somehow. They're very closely linked.
I think it was I'm thinking of the Earth's Mightiest Heroes, a cartoon. I'm pretty sure Ultron created Vision, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that's
Hank Pym created Vision in the main canon.
Okay.
Ant-Man created Vision.
He created Ultron too in the main canon.
Yeah, he created Vision and Ultron in the 616. I'm like 99% sure on that. Leave us a comment if I'm wrong.
I'm gonna be interested to see what they do. I mean, they're adding a bunch of new people.
Let's talk about another person that's rumored as Miss Marvel for this.
That'd be interesting.
We talk about it in these superhero movies.
That's a good addition.
I could see her being in Guardians of the Galaxy in some capacity, whether be after the credits or something.
Yes.
Miss Marvel teaser would be interesting.
We talk about in these superhero movies, particularly with the Spider-Man 3, and Amazing Spider-Man 2 coming up, too many villains. Will Age of Ultron be something different? Will it be too many heroes, you think? Could we have that? Whedon's so good at balancing characters and character development moments. He did such a good job in that first Avengers movie, giving each of them a time to shine, with maybe the exception of Hawkeye, which he promises to make up for in this film. Yeah. Could we have hero overload? Is the roster becoming too much?
I don't. The Hawkeye thing, I think he did a pretty good job, kind of considering how Hawkeye came into the whole Marvel Universe to begin with.
In the Thor film.
No, I mean just in regular Marvel Universe. Kind of that tie-in, because he was he was an Iron Man villain or whatever, right? Hawkeye originally? He was some sort of anti-hero type character, if I'm not mistaken. So I like that, and I think he was pretty awesome at the end of the film. But I totally forgot your question.
Yes, he was. No, I was just saying, is it going to be...
Could we have hero overload?
Yeah,
there's so much... I think the important thing is... I don't dislike the movie that as much as some people do, but I think it's that issue.
Just what movie?
Which movie?
Well, I'm getting ready to get there. Oh. I don't dislike the movie as much as some people do, but I think X-Men 3, Last Stand, is a really good test case for you've got stuff established, and then you throw so many new characters in and don't develop them. Yeah. Because there's a lot less character development that needs to happen in this movie for some of the characters already established. I mean, we want some great Iron Man, Tony Stark moments. We want some great Captain America moments. But we don't need the level of introduction anymore or development that we've needed in previous movies. I mean, we want to see them be affected by things. We want to see some change. But
we've had 4 films with Iron Man
you don't have to have so much attention. What's
5 if you count the Incredible Hulk.
And as we know those characters, we're kind of filling in a lot of the blanks for ourselves by seeing them interact. Yeah. It's these new characters that really do have to be introduced to people, and they have to have enough character development to make them click.
I like Stokes' suggestion of maybe bringing Miss Marvel in at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe in a post-credit stinger.
I mean, interesting, but what is she going to do for... I think she would work better in a Galactus movie or something.
Galactus movie.
No, I mean in Avengers where they fight Galactus. I don't mean Galactus.
That can't happen legally because
Galactus
is owned by Fox.
That's why, and that's why I'm interested to see what capacity Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are even going to have. Because most of the time when I see them as part of the Avengers and when they're introduced to the Avengers, there's kind of this animosity of them being Magneto's kids. And from what I understand, the rights that Marvel has, they can't mention them as
Mutant. They can have the same powers and everything, but they cannot say the word mutant.
And I don't believe they're allowed to mention Magneto either.
No, they're not allowed to mention
I'm interested to see what capacity they're going to, like, what's the purpose of them in this film.
We've mentioned the characters, guys. You got Ultron, you got Vision, you have Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Maybe Miss Marvel.
Yeah, maybe Miss Marvel. That's 5 new right off the bat there. I mean, that's a lot of new characters for a 2-hour
7
movie.
heroes?
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to think. Is there anybody?
Falcon might be in it, right?
Yeah, Falcon could be.
Is there anybody they're going to kind of? Isn't Falcon supposed to be in Captain America?
Yeah, he's in Captain America too. Winter Soldier.
So, I guess one of the things that comes up is there anybody they're going to kind of phase out a little bit?
I wouldn't be surprised if they phase.
It's not going to be Hawkeye though, because he's promised Hawkeye's got big moments in this movie.
But based on where Iron Man 3 ended. And the role I think Tony Stark will play in the creation of Ultron, and behind the scenes Robert Downey Jr. is kind of tiring of playing the character, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of phase him out a little bit.
Could we see in this movie him create Ultron? Could we see him just be Tony Stark? You think? I would not take the bet. He's putting that suit on.
At some point, maybe at the end, he'll come in and save the day at the end.
Somebody's putting that suit on.
They love Iron Man now.
Yeah, that suit will be
Is War Machine going to be in it?
I don't believe so. I don't believe War Machine's going to be in it.
They need to do a spin-off Avengers film with like War Machine and Falcon and stuff. That'd be cool.
But you mentioned
I did
the new Captain America movie. Earlier this week, Anthony Mackie, who plays the Falcon, said nothing sets up an Avengers movie, whether it was in Phase 1 leading to Avengers 1 or in Phase 2 leading to Avengers 2, more than Captain America Winter Soldier. He called this film Avengers 1.5.
Captain America
1.5.
Captain America 2.
He said this thing will set everything up for what's going to happen in Avengers, which I found very interesting. And Ed Brubaker, who wrote Captain America: The Winter Soldier story, got to screen the film, and he promises. Of course, he's biased. He wrote the work originally, but he says it's the best Marvel film, including the Avengers, ever made. They say it's not a superhero movie, it's a political thriller. Do you think it could be that good, guys?
I mean, it certainly could be.
It's got Robert Redford in it. That can never go wrong with
It's got Robert Redford in it?
Yeah, Robert Redford's in it.
I didn't know that. I'm trying to keep myself in the dark on it because I'm actually really excited about it.
Yeah,
just tonally, it looks very different, but it looks different. It's a political thriller, and here we have... It looks like Avengers 2 either being... I won't say it's going to focus on space-based stuff, but it's at least going to focus on a lot of technological AI stuff.
Captain...
Avengers 2. Captain America 2 is going to be more like, corporate, governmental stuff. I'm just wondering maybe if the unraveling of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agency will be the impact that Anthony Mackie is talking about.
Let's see.
It could be.
I just wanted to hit on one other Marvel thing real quick. There's been all this hype for Guardians of the Galaxy. Marvel says they're going to release a Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in 2016.
Wow.
As part of Phase 3, they have a Disney series planned on Disney XD for the fall of 2015 for Guardians of the Galaxy. And many people who have heard, read, seen anything about Guardians of the Galaxy are believing that this could be, wait for it, this generation's Star Wars. Jerry, what did you say this generation's Star Wars would be?
Well, I assume it's going to be the new Star Wars movies that come out in December 2015.
It's just...
That's a literal answer, though.
Could there be any validity? Do you guys... I mean, what are you expecting out of
I
this
feel
movie?
like Star Wars is such a... it's such a marker. I mean, it's such a cultural milestone.
I know, it's such hefty praise.
Every time you have a sci-fi movie, somebody's like, this is the next Star Wars. Or,
It's kind of like the iPhone killer.
I don't know.
Every new phone that comes out is the iPhone killer.
I remember when, Independence Day, it's Star Wars for the next generation.
Somebody said that?
Yeah, that was one of the big things that was
I loved Independence Day as a kid and still now.
The trailers and stuff.
Wow.
And, I think Fifth Element, that popped up as it was Star Wars.
I just hadn't seen it thrown around as much as you have, but I mean, if you heard that...
Pay attention, Brad.
Yeah, if you heard that.
I just thought that was pretty hefty praise, and at least they're...
Have they shown anything from that?
No. The footage at Comic-Con.
Which nobody's seen.
Which nobody's seen,
so.
I guess. And people... Every piece of concept art they put out for this thing, every little thing,
cool.
people are pumped for it. I mean,
I'm excited
it looks
for
cool.
it.
I really want to see it, but I mean, I can't get too much an opinion on it. I mean,
what's going to be interesting is you have Cap 2 setting up Avengers, and I really think, now I'm just guessing here, that Guardians is going to be its own kind of thing and set up more Phase 3 and Avengers 3 related stuff.
interesting.
That's what I hear, that Avengers 3 is going to be focused on the space-based stuff, such as Thanos and whatnot.
They're doing the Doctor Strange movie too, right?
But hopefully. We know Ant-Man, we know Thor 3, we know
4 TV shows.
Cat 3.
Daredevil and Heroes for Hire. And
Yeah,
stuff.
all of it. Let's just list what we know for Phase 3. Ant-Man,
Okay.
Marvel said this week, Cat 3, Thor
Guardians
3,
2.
Guardians 2. There's rumors of Doctor Strange. Then we have, hopefully, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. continues on ABC.
I guess.
On Netflix, we have a Daredevil show coming, a Jessica Jones show coming,
Iron Fist.
Iron Fist show coming,
Power Man, is that his name?
a Defender show coming, a Luke Cage show
Luke
coming.
Oh
Cage.
my gosh.
Is this
hear
too
that?
much?
That's a lot of
If
stuff.
they can do it, man.
Yeah.
More power to them.
That's crazy.
But it's going to be too much. Like, I watch all the movies. I still haven't watched S.H.I.E.L.D. I watched the first episode.
We had a big talk about that last week.
I think it's going to be. I think they just have to be careful that they don't overwhelm people with so much stuff. Because once again, that's kind of one of the things why I think people really like superhero movies, but the comics aren't as popular as they used to be. Was because with a movie, you can catch somebody up by saying, "Okay, let's watch 4 or 5." Movies, and you'll be caught up for Avengers 2 or Captain America 2 or whatever. But with comics, it's just so intensive sometimes to really get in there. You have to read multiple series, multiple issues, and this might lead into our next discussion really well.
Yeah, Jerry, it leads into our next discussion.
But if you're saying now you have to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you have to watch these 2 seasons of it, you have to watch like 4 Netflix shows. I mean, some people are, once again, they're going to feel that kind of confusion, like, okay, I don't
know, though. I think Marvel's been pretty smart. I think for the hardcore fanboy, here's everything.
Yeah.
But if you want to just watch, if you want to just watch the movies, here's the movies.
Yeah, I feel you.
For example, Captain America 2.
Never heard of it.
You could just watch the first Captain America and Avengers and be good on that. You don't have to watch all the Iron Mans and all the Hulks and all that, right? I mean, you really don't. You could watch just the stuff with Cap. Mm-hmm. So you don't
pretty much. Although, I mean, if you're watching Avengers, you're gonna try to figure out who some of those characters.
You get a better experience watching other ones, but I mean, I feel like you could watch Avengers on its own.
Yeah, you could. Right. Some people definitely did. Now, moving on to our next topic. Speaking about investing time and money in something, it's been teased, but news about this really got fleshed out this week. DC Comics is doing a weekly Batman series entitled Batman Eternal. And the story is going to be written by all the big people writing the Bat books now. Scott Snyder, Kyle Higgins, James Tywin, all of those big names in the Batman industry over at DC right now. Well, currently in Batman continuity, we're in 0 year. Mm-hmm. All right, Scott Snyder's origin story of Batman in the New 52. Well, when that's finished in June, apparently the main Batman book will link in to Batman Eternal. So not only will you have 52 issues of Batman Eternal, you will have the Scott Snyder Batman main series tied in with that stuff. Jerry, how do you feel about weekly series, being a comic book reader yourself that run a year, and is this something you'd be interested in?
It's something I'm definitely interested in. It's something I'll definitely read. I'm just going to say and be 100% honest with comic books. It is just so difficult to keep up with weekly series, and even monthly series sometimes are difficult to keep up with. I read the trades. It just helps me to keep up with them better. I like the format better.
But Jerry, you have people like me who has cut back. I only read Spider-Man and Batman comics. Yeah. However, if I want to continue doing that, I'm going to have to invest in Batman Eternal. Now, I'll read everything else in trades, but that kind of upsets me a little bit that, hey, I want to keep up. Here's the 2 characters I love. I'm going to give you my money on individual issues with those, and the rest of the stuff, characters I like, semi-love, I'm going to buy trades. And now you want me to invest $220-something bucks in a year on this story? Is that too much?
Yes. Comics are just a mess, man. That's why I've literally almost completely stopped reading.
Do you
comics.
read any trades?
I don't even read any trades anymore.
That's sad.
I read trades like crazy. Like I just keep watching out for when the trade comes out, and picks it up, and that's so much easier to keep them in order, easier to store on a shelf.
Single issues to me are just they're too.
But once
short.
again, and I don't want to beat this dead horse for too long, but
beat that horse shit.
I thought the whole point of redoing these things, like the New 52, was to say, we want people to come in, we want to simplify things, and then comics just once again they love these crossovers, they love these
money,
these issues, but
that's what they love.
Does
money.
it really bring more people in and make more money than it costs people just to say?
It doesn't bring people in; it bleeds people like us dry.
Really, I think it brings in more money if they wouldn't do it, but it does it at the expense of the people who are reading it, and at the expense of bringing in new people who would maybe want to start picking up Batman comics or whatever.
I mean, it's just one of those things, though. That it makes money, but at the same time, there are all the things in the early '90s that everyone was like, well, they do it because it makes money. Multiple covers. And, holographic. And, of course, what happened? The industry crashed.
Yeah, well.
Everybody had to recover from that. And it's still not up to where it's...
it's not to that point.
It's constantly dropping.
You had number ones in that period selling million copies.
And now, what?
20,000 or 30,000 for a Batman book, which would be number 1 or 2 at the top of the list.
Good. And now you also have these summer events. It's going to change the universe every year.
That's Marvel.
It's mostly Marvel. Yeah,
DC got doing it for a while, though.
The Marvel still does it, yeah.
And what Jerry and I talked about, what ticks us off about those is when it crosses into other books.
It crosses over into everything.
Like what you're reading is, like, for example, Throne of Atlantis, that Justice League story. All right, I'm reading Justice League, right? I'm not reading Aquaman. And Jerry dropped the Justice League monthly book over this exact issue. He was reading Justice League. Throne of Atlantis was a 5-part series, and Jerry had to drop that book because they wanted you to buy 2 issues of Aquaman,
well,
right?
I was even reading Aquaman.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah, but it was just, once again, it was the whole crossing over thing was just...
too much.
I mean, I'll be honest. I read tons of comics. I don't read that many superhero comics.
The medium is
Other than Batman. I mean, pretty much everything I read is... I read a lot of things. I read a lot of horror comics. I read a lot of fantasy comics.
You're talking about the Batman universe.
No, I'm talking about just in comics in general.
Yeah.
I read a lot of horror comics, fantasy comics. I read a lot of just like actual graphic novels that are, just like a solid story. I mean, sometimes just different things.
Walking Dead.
Yeah, Walking Dead, the horror and stuff. But about the only superhero universe I really, really care about is, I like DC. I like to read some of the older DC stuff, but Batman stuff.
When you say Batman, what I was trying to get out earlier, you read the Batman universe.
I read Batman, I read Batgirl, I read Batwoman, I read Batwing, I read, anything related to a Robin.
Son of Batman, Man Bat.
I read Red Hood and the Outlaws because it's, once you get, I was Suicide Squad. Close enough to Batman for me, because it's got Harley Quinn and
so when
Deadshot
Jerry
in it.
says he doesn't read superhero comics, kind of true, kind of not.
Yeah, but I'm not I don't keep up with every superhero, which I'm sure not many people can do.
No, it's too much. And I think that's about going to wrap us up for Epic News for the week.
Yeah.
And with that note, we're going to go ahead and get into our featured movie review of the week, which is the Lego Movie.
Good morning, apartment. Ready to start the day. Jumping jacks, hit 'em. 1, 2, 3. I am so pumped up! Yes! Overpriced coffee.
That's $37.
Awesome!
Everything is awesome.
Oh my gosh, I love this song!
It's cool when you're part of the team. Everything is awesome.
No, guys, wait up! Where am I?
Come with me if you want to not die.
That was from the trailer of the Lego Movie, directed by Chris Miller and Phil Lord. Jerry, we hear this Lego movie. We see all these different intellectual properties interacting with one another. But why don't you go ahead and set up the plot, spoiler-free, for the Lego movie?
Spoiler-free. The Lego movie is the story of a young construction worker named Emmett,
voiced by Chris Pratt,
who doesn't feel that he's, really that special. I mean, he just kind of lives his life. He really lives by a rule book and tries to do things that everyone else does. I mean, he tries to exercise. He buys expensive coffee. And he just doesn't have anybody that are really, really close friends or anybody he spends his life with. And he gets caught up in this plot that all the Lego world is ruled by President Business, voiced by Will Ferrell, who is planning to unleash the weapon that's called Craggle, yes, which will...
It's pretty much glue.
Which will bring about the end of the world. And so Emmett ends up finding out that he might be the fulfillment of this prophecy by Vitruvius, who is this old wizard that's voiced by Morgan Freeman, and he ends up getting involved in this epic quest to save the world of Lego and meets all of these really funny, bizarre, strange characters along the way.
Andrew Stokes, what did you think about Lego Movie?
I like Lego Movie. I really enjoyed Lego Movie. I honestly, though, based on what I originally heard about the movie, both cast and plot, I'm not sure it lived up to the potential I had in my head, but the potential I had in my head was like epic. I still think it was really good.
Don't
really,
give your official rating yet.
Yeah, okay. I was just talking...
In general, good. That's not his official rating.
Layman good. In layman's terms, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was funny. I'm a big fan of some of the cast of it. Chris Pratt.
Will
Ferrell, thank you. Will Ferrell,
Will
Alison
Arnett.
Brie, Nick Offerman, stuff like that. Will Arnett, oh yeah, God.
Will Arnett is Batman.
He needs to be in more stuff.
Has to be one of the best Batman portrayals ever. I mean,
Christian Bale has nothing on him.
Eyes rolling.
It's a hilarious, funny Batman portrayal, but it's just so enjoyable.
Would you put him above Adam West, Jerry?
Of course not.
Don't be so blasphemous. I'm surprised at some of the stuff they were able to get away with, not only Batman, but just some of the other licensed characters, really. Some of the things that they were allowed to have the characters do, especially some of the superheroes, like Green Lantern and stuff. It was fun.
Jerry Reed, what about you? Initial thoughts on the Lego movie?
Okay, well, I'm a big fan of Legos, so I'm a huge fan of Lego, and every moment of this movie was 100% enjoyable to me. I mean, first of all, let me just say that watching it from the perspective of somebody who has grown up building Legos, who has a huge Lego display, who reads about Legos and reviews Legos, the fact that in every scene I could look and identify all the bricks. I mean, when there's water, it's not CG water. It's just tons of the CG, the Lego studs as water. All the flames. There's not special effects. There's the actual different size pieces of Lego flames, flickering back and forth. You'd look at really cool things people be holding, I would recognize and be like, oh my gosh, they just combined, 4 little studs with a flag and made a scroll, when someone's reading a scroll at some point. It was just so exciting and visually pleasing to watch this movie. And I thought Batman was the funniest character. I was laughing harder in the theater than probably anybody else there.
Yeah, that's true. I would say, I don't even have that much Lego stuff. And I have even less what I would call mainstream Lego or kind of basic. I have a lot of like Bionicle and like a Lego board game or two. And
Which was glossed over in the movie Bionicle was.
But even I was able to pick out things like, oh, I have that. There's like a weapon rack that was just like the one I have in the board game.
The Heroica. Yeah, the Heroica weapons were there at one point.
Yeah, and there's just different properties that I'm familiar with Lego that I saw here from just various different things. It was really cool. It was definitely a lot of... If you know Lego and the history of Lego, there's a lot of stuff.
I mean, the fact that one of the main characters, which I believe was one of the directors, based on the director's actual figure, was the Blue Spaceman.
Yeah.
Benny? Was it Benny?
Yeah, Charlie Day voice.
Yeah.
that's
And
great.
so, I mean, once again, it was the 80s Lego space, which was really just one of the, I mean, that was a massive Lego theme at the time.
They tried to be
Yeah.
appealing to multiple genres and eras of Legos.
And
I
you know
loved
what?
pirate Legos when I was a kid.
It seemed to work so well because you could hear kids in the theater like just screaming and
And
pointing,
Jerry.
and me, but you could hear kids in the theater seem to really be into it. I mean, you know, they were getting all the references and jokes, or they were getting a lot of them at least. But then you saw parents that seemed to really be enjoying the movie as well.
Well, guys, I hate to crap on your Lego parade. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, you're not costing it any money, I'm sure.
I want to say that, first of all, I did enjoy the movie. I enjoyed multiple parts of the movie. I really enjoyed the ending, which we'll talk about after spoilers.
Yeah.
However, I just didn't like it as much as everyone else. I read the reviews everywhere, not just you guys, but I hear, you know, multiple great film websites, Collider, /film.com. Obviously, Rotten Tomatoes had this movie at a 98%.
97 now, but
97%,
still, yeah.
which is still extremely
Very
high.
high.
They're Academy
That's
Award
higher
winners.
than American Hustle or Wolf of Wall Street or pretty much anything else nominated.
Yeah, anything nominated at the Academy Awards, this movie has more critical praise. And I'm sitting here, and I guess, Andrew, when I see that Rotten Tomato meter go up to above 90, it kind of changed my expectation for the movie. I expected kind of what we got. However, when I saw the Rotten Tomato meter go up, I was expecting something maybe closer to a Toy Story movie or Toy Story 3 even. I mean, once I started reading all the praise, I got my hopes way up. And I'm not a Lego fanboy like Jerry is. I don't even like Legos as much as I would say Andrew Stokes does. However, I'm sitting here watching this movie, and there are some great moments, and I don't think it does as strong of a job as appealing to kids and adults as much as Jerry does. Now, the ending does, and the primary story definitely does. I'm talking about throughout when I was sitting there watching from scene to scene to scene. As I'm watching scene to scene to scene, I'm seeing some funny stuff, some clever stuff. I'm having a heck of a time seeing all these IPs interact with each other, the Ninja Turtles and Batman and Superman, Wonder Woman, and, you know,
Dumbledore.
all of these guys you get to see interact with one another. And the great voice cast is just absolutely amazing. Channing Tatum, Jonah Hill, Charlie Day, Will Arnett, Alison Brie, Chris Pratt, Elizabeth Banks, Nick Offerman, all these people that we've mentioned. Just a great cast. Liam Neeson.
Oh, yeah.
But-
Yeah, Liam Neeson.
As the bad cop, good cop. But as I'm watching these scenes unfold, maybe it was the kid who was kicking the back of my seat the entire time, giving me a headache. But no, I'm sitting here, and I'm like, man, there's just parts of this that feel just too much like a kid's movie, which it was a kid's movie, but I was expecting something more, whereas a Pixar movie that is just as much for adults as it is kids, where I think I wouldn't say that with this.
I said that. I really, really liked it. That was a really good movie, but I don't believe it lived up to the potential that it really could have. I really felt like it could have been better than it was.
But that's you and I, based on the critical reception, it's near a perfect film.
Yeah, I'm asking, did anybody really think... I mean, if somebody would have said last year about a Lego movie, did anybody think we'd be getting this movie that has...
This good? Right?
That would have Batman in it? And
When they announced it and announced that they had some of the properties like that, I really expected a fantastic movie. I mean, just because of some of the people in it, Chris Pratt, Will Arnett, I think are really, really funny. When I heard the style they were doing,
Chris Pratt was perfect for Emmett.
Yeah.
Perfect average day guy, kind of, oblivious to what's going on in the corporate world. How
I love
it's
Chris Pratt,
impacted his life.
especially Chris Pratt in the comedic role. I think it's fantastic. I'm interested to see.
I want
Really
to
good
answer,
movie.
Jerry, if
Okay.
I could, let me answer your question. Based on a year ago announcing a Lego movie, which it was before that, but that's when we first saw anything from it around a year ago. And what I was expecting then, I got more today watching the film than what I was expecting a year ago, unlike Andrew. However, I didn't get as much as I was expecting when I read tons and tons of gushing reviews.
Yeah.
Some people call it one of the greatest animated films of all time. And to me, it's definitely not. To Jerry, he disagrees.
absolutely, to me.
It is one of the best animated films
I
of all
think
time.
so. I mean, I definitely
You would put it up there against any of the Disney stuff, any of the best DreamWorks stuff.
Up against Toy Story 3?
Yeah, I'd put it up with Toy Story 3. It's not up there with Up for me.
Well, I think it would be more comparable to judge it to Toy Story 1 because Toy Story 3 was extra kind of special because
you
there
had
was that
years,
emotional investment in those characters.
I mean, I'll be honest.
Where this is the first time we're introduced
When
to
Toy
these
Story
characters.
3 came out, I was a married adult. When Toy Story 1 came out, I was in, like, 5th or 6th grade. I mean,
third grade.
that was the amount of time that passed between those movies.
And the third one provides a commentary on that time passage.
Exactly. And I think this movie provided a lot of commentary on...
It did, which is spoiler stuff.
Yeah, I want to get that because that's actually
the heart of
going to
the
be
movie.
pretty relevant to me. But we can talk about that more in spoilers.
One thing I do want to say about it is, to me, and I imagine a lot of kids nowadays, and I'd be interested to take my nephew to it and see what he says. But to me, there was a lot of times during that movie that I enjoyed the world of the movie and made me think a lot about Minecraft, to be honest. Some of the things they did, and it really made me... There's things...
And
like,
Lego whipped out the Minecraft stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they got Minecraft through their Kusu project.
Yeah, I think... Because Lego's still a very popular toy.
Absolutely.
And Minecraft is also a very popular thing. And it's kind of that idea in Minecraft of building whatever you want. A lot of kids I know play Minecraft in the creative mode where you don't have all these rules and restrictions and you can't be hurt. You just build. And I think that's kind of that concept is really popular right now.
I really
It
enjoyed
ties into the movie really well.
My enjoyment of the movie varied from scene to scene. I love all the beginning stuff. First of all, they build their world, no pun intended, so expertly crafted. I mean, they set up this world perfectly within the first 10, 15 minutes of the film, and I'm loving it. And then we start going from different area to different area, and I'm just like, oh, God. Of course, I'm not a Lego guy, but then we get to the end, and I absolutely love it. So it varied from scene to scene for me.
And I think one of the things that you do have to point out is that it has CG, but it looks like a stop motion
It's
film.
a blend of it.
Yeah, it's a blend. And so when you first start watching it, it is a little jarring. And you're like, this looks really odd.
You have to adjust to it.
It really looks like you're watching Lego pieces move. I mean, it's a really unusual thing, but once you get a few minutes into it, you just completely accept that and move on.
Yeah.
But I definitely think watching it the first minute or two, if you weren't sure what to expect, you might be turned off by thinking, well, this really does just look like, Lego pieces versus looking like a, smooth CGI film.
Yeah, it does. And I think to really tackle this film and dive into how we really feel about what the heart of the film, really, I know I overuse that a lot, but this film did have a lot of heart. And to talk about the heart of the Lego movie, let's go ahead and roll the reel forward to spoilers. And spoilers for the Lego movie starting now. And now, Jerry, we can get more into the heart of the movie. Set up the second half of this story for us. You can go ahead and spoil it now.
So everything in this movie looks like, Lego pieces. I mean, everything is made from Lego, actual Lego bricks.
With a few exceptions.
With a few exceptions. There's some really random objects in there that would be the kind of weird stuff you would find, somehow work their way into a kid's Lego collection, like
Band-Aid.
A Band-Aid.
Golf ball.
The golf ball, blade of an X-Acto knife, which was more of an adult...
Exact Zero knife.
Yeah, Exact Zero knife, because the characters don't know what these things are, so they're calling them by whatever whatever's written there. But it turns out that there was this prophecy in this Lego world that there was this object that was called... What is it called?
The relic.
Yeah,
The Brick Eternal.
Crazy glue. What is it?
The Craggle.
Craggle. It's called Craggle, but it turns out it's a bottle of crazy glue.
Yeah,
because
and the relic is the lid.
The relic is the lid to seal it. And Will Ferrell's character, President Business, wants to basically get everybody the way he wants them. Get everything in place and cover it with crazy glue.
He wants to follow the instructions.
Yeah,
and he wants everything to be like it is in the manual.
Yeah, everything is supposed to be perfect for him. It's all supposed to be by the book, instruction-based, where all of the other Lego people. Well, there's a group called the Master Builders, and they're people who can just see things. They can take the Lego bricks that make up walls and streets and everything and turn them into whatever they want. Well, Emmett might be the person that this prophecy revolves around, but it turns out that he's not really. There actually was no prophecy. But he's supposed to be getting this block, or the lid for the crazy glue to put it back on. And it's kind of, I don't know, I'm feeling it's kind of tough to explain without seeing it.
It is, but get to what is actually happening.
What is actually happening is this Lego world is actually the Lego world of a man.
And we flash to like real
world, and it's Will Ferrell. And he is the dad, and he has a son. And the son likes to come play with his Lego collection. The son likes to do fun things. The son likes to do kind of silly things. We find out in the movie that, all of the Lego worlds have been separated. That there's not, because Lego has the Lord of the Rings license, but it's not called Middle Earth. It's called
Middle Zealand.
Middle Zealand, yeah. So it's kind of like a blend of Lego Lord of the Rings and their traditional medieval theme. But all the Lego worlds have been separated by President Business. Will Ferrell's son likes to mix the worlds. He likes to mix things together. And so we see that, Will Ferrell's trying to teach his son, no, everything needs to be in order. It needs to be straight. It needs to be by the book. Things have to be kept a certain way. And his son likes to do the fun, creative stuff. And so the struggle that we watch in the movie between President Business and Emmett is actually a struggle between Will Ferrell and his son about, well, what's the right way to play? I mean, really is the question, what's the right way to play? What's the right way to do things? And
this entire film is the product of a child's imagination.
Yes.
And playing with his, in this case, father's toys.
Yeah.
And what I really thought as I'm watching all this come together at the end of the film.
They're not toys. They are highly designed collectible. What do you say? Highly designed interlocking brick system. Yeah.
That's and he had this amazing sit-up in his
He almost
basement.
treated it like a model train type thing. You see these extravagant, miniature things that people create, and it was kind of like that.
I'm sitting here watching this film, and it's like, I'm thinking, this is a movie for collectors at its heart. I really think that is. And it's that debate of maybe if you're an adult collector who has kids, what do you do? Do you pass down your toys and let your kids enjoy them? Mm-hmm. Or do you kind of keep those things to yourself and, just keep them on display? Now, if it's a hot toy, you never let a kid play with it.
I don't think in any movie I have ever related to a villain as much as I did Will Ferrell's character. Because, the setup that he had was amazing. It looked so cool. I didn't want to touch it. I was just like, oh, this looks amazing. But the kid creates some cool things, and toys are supposed to be played with. But I've also had this experience where I have some toys, and my nephew kind of wants to play with them in a way that I'm just like, oh, let's be careful with them. So it was pretty interesting.
And my fiance always messes with me and says, when we have kids, they're going to open up that case and play with those Batman toys.
Yeah, I've heard that thread before, too.
No, they're not. They are not. No, there will be a lock or something on that. No, they were not. Obviously, Hot Toys is a little different. But, Jerry...
If they want to play with the knives or something, go ahead. Not the Hot Toys.
But, Jerry, you're the only one of us who actually has kids.
I actually have a child.
Not necessarily toy age yet, but...
No.
What will you do with some of your figures? Will you share these things? How will that work? I'm just curious.
So that's definitely been a question that comes to mind, and what I've tried to start doing is picking up some things that I know that we can play with together.
So you've been using your child as an excuse to buy more toys. Got you.
So I've been picking up the Batman Imaginex stuff, because I'm thinking, okay, so when she's older, she'll. You know what? One, when she's older, she's going to make a lot of choices on toys on her own as well, and I'm going to encourage whatever she wants to play. Whatever toys line she wants.
Whatever Batman line she wants to play with, it's fine by you.
Put down that Barbie and come play with this Batcave, honey.
If she wants Barbie, fine. If she wants Monster High, yeah, those are pretty cool. Okay. If she wants My Little Pony, go for it. Whatever, toy line she wants. If she wants cars...
She's going to be really into sports.
Okay, yeah, that would be really funny if she's super into sports and my wife and I will have, no way to relate to her.
Do they make Panther toys?
Yeah. So, like, what is that? What's Panther? She'll get, like, Black Panther, and stuff like that. And, like, no, wrong thing.
She paints blue streaks on.
So, but, I do think that this movie, on one end, it really is about, do you always try to fit in? Do you always try to go by the rules? Do you always try to conform? Or do you do your own thing and be happy about it?
It almost in so many ways relates to the Brony story we had on the website this week, does it not?
Sure.
That kid should be able to express himself and be who he wants to be.
Yeah.
If that's a Brony, that's fine. He shouldn't have to necessarily always have to fit into the context and rules of society that people deem this is socially acceptable, right?
Yeah, it's funny
as long as he's not harming anybody.
Yeah, you're not harming, but once again, your hobbies, unless your hobby's something like I punch puppies or something, go for it. If it's not hurting anybody, whatever. Just feel free. We sometimes just have so many. Are you looking at me? Because
something dawned on me.
These limits we put on people as to what they can and cannot do. What is right, what is wrong. This is cool, this is not cool. And I think society has moved. We're really progressing, but we're not where we need to be with that yet. I'm not saying, that everybody's going to like superheroes or My Little Pony or whatever it is. But, you can take this to a deeper level, even if you're talking about same-sex marriage or something like that. I'm not going to get into that argument or that topic. However, it's however you want to look at it. And that's kind of the beauty of film. It is art. Even something like the Lego movie is art.
No, I agree with you that, one of the characters, Wildstyle, we find out that she's had multiple names. She keeps changing her name.
She's very emo.
She changes her identity all the time.
She looks punky.
She's always trying to find a way to stand out.
Yeah.
And
one thing, the kid, Will Ferrell had to learn to share and to let people play the way they want to play. But it's dawned on me, did that kid deface one of his Legos?
Exactly.
The bad cop.
Yeah. He did deface one.
I just realized he just wiped the
it was
off
his
that.
story. It was his imaginary story.
Yeah,
he shouldn't destroy other people's stuff.
So if that really happened or not, once again, we're having to decide.
I think that part happened. I think that kid wiped off
And
part of
that is an
face.
in-joke because that is how people take the faces off of, Lego pieces. But I think part of it was learning about how do you learn to play. I'm actually working on an article for a project that's about, as an adult collector, how do you find enjoyment? We talked about this last week a little bit, Brad.
Absolutely.
How do you find enjoyment with the stuff you like? How do you move from beyond just I like to amass things, I like to just stockpile to I'd like to enjoy. How do you really bring the hobby aspect of it back in? And I thought this was a really nice this movie that, Will Ferrell kind of learned, the kid wasn't, other than maybe he took the face off. We don't know.
That kid.
But how do you, the kid was playing, wanting to play.
You how you share the things you love with society. And I think this movie hints at that. We talked about it last week. Jerry does that by taking pictures, putting them on his Flickr, putting them on the site, reviewing it, right? You have to enjoy the things that you love and share that enjoyment just as Will Ferrell does with his kid with the Legos.
The entire movie was sharing somebody's enjoyment of the Lego as a whole with the world, honestly. It was a definitely love tribute movie to Legos in general, even if they did, shun over some of the Lego properties.
Yeah, they moved on, and I was wondering. I know, Andrew, you were really upset. Let's talk for a minute or two about just some of the properties covered because I think that was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Now you were upset that Bionicle got missed out.
I would have liked at least a ref. it was a reference, but at
they
least
kind of poke fun at him.
They did poke fun of it. I understand because some of those are pretty when they first came out. Or some of the Lego,
and Bionicle,
purists would say they're a little out there.
Bionicle still kind of lives in a way with Hero Factory, and stuff, which has been going
still
for
popular.
a few years.
They've had
still
Bionicle
going
movies and stuff.
I think, and I wonder if it's that Bionicle kind of gets its own, its own stuff. And once again, Bionicle parts typically aren't used in most mainstream, regular Lego creations.
Right.
Sometimes they can be. So some of the universes explored. Obviously. You have Batman because he was on all the marketing, and this Batman is really funny. He's a huge jerk. I mean, Will Arnett voices him, Arrested Development.
It kind of reminded me of Batman and Frank Miller's All-Star Batman.
Oh, exactly, but like in such a great way.
In a kiddie way.
I'm going to say
way.
the funniest part of this movie is that Batman writes a song that he has playing in the Batmobile, and it's just this like dark, like doom metal, do-do-do, and it's just him going, darkness, orphan, parents dead, money makes it better. Or when somebody's talking to Batman, they're like, okay, so you'll go up there as Bruce Wayne, and he's like, I don't know Bruce Wayne. Who's this Bruce Wayne guy? He sounds really cool. Just some of the fun jokes that they poke to these characters.
If you stick around after the credits, you get to see what, Jerry? Nothing, but you get to see the song during the credits.
Yeah, you do get to hear the full Batman song, which is pretty.
We're sticking around.
Plus the acoustic version of the really great song "Everything Is Awesome," which is funny. I mean, this
is a very catchy song.
Which is hilarious. There was a lot of little pop culture references all over there. The Millennium Falcon shows up at one point with.
Talk about the hyperdrive reference.
Okay, so they're trying to build build something that needs a hyperdrive, and they're trying to figure out where to get a hyperdrive. And here comes the Millennium Falcon, and there's Han Solo and C-3PO, actually voiced by Anthony Daniels, and Chewbacca and Lando Calrissian, actually voiced by Billy D. Williams. And Batman.
We don't get Harrison Ford's voice.
Yeah. But Batman ends up stealing the hyperdrive from the Millennium Falcon.
And that is how that happened in Empire Strikes Back, guys. Yes. No hyperdrive, right?
And they show a scene where what happens when the Millennium Falcon doesn't have a hyperdrive and gets caught by a space slug.
I'm glad they kept some surprises as to cameos.
Yes.
Because I watched on the trailers, and you see like the Ninja Turtles and DC Heroes, and I was like, well, they have other
Ninja
properties.
Turtles didn't even have a line.
They didn't get much.
No.
Yeah. You just saw they made a joke basically that they had Michelangelo and Michelangelo.
Well, I'll tell you why. Paramount was probably a real stickler over those rights.
That could have been what happened.
I really wish we could have seen unless there was one in the background I missed, but I imagine I wouldn't. One of the Marvel superheroes.
I think that would have been a big.
Yeah, it would have. But I mean, because Disney allowed Star Wars guys in there. I was hoping they also would have allowed some of the Marvel characters in there. And it would have been really cool because you already had all these DC heroes. But, it is what it is. The Marvel Universe can't even bring the guys together on the big screen.
Yeah, I just love that. You look around. I mean, there was a scene where Gandalf and Dumbledore are arguing.
Very cool to see
Oh, my gosh. That
really,
was neat.
Yeah, they really did take a jab at Harry Potter or Dumbledore, but
Dumbledore. That's what I said.
One thing's for sure. This movie is going to make a ton of money.
And it's in 3D as well.
Yeah, and it's not only going to make money at the box office. It'll for sure be number one. Probably make 60 to 80 million this week, which would be crazy for February opening. Yeah. And it's going to make kids want to go out and buy Legos.
After the movie, Jerry was showing me some of the Lego sets they have based on this movie. That was just like drooling over, honestly. So, yeah, it's definitely it's a moneymaker. This movie
once again, too, and somebody we ran into after the movie asked us, why did you guys went and saw the Lego movie?
Stop the bullying.
Yeah. Once again, let's think, probably about every couple months, Lego puts out. Probably every month, Lego puts out a set that's over $200. Yeah. There are not kids, unless they have like really cool parents who are into Lego as well. There are not kids who are buying $200, $300, $400 Lego sets that take hours upon hours to put together.
And some of them wouldn't even be interesting to kids.
Exactly, like the Lego architecture line.
Yeah,
there's no kid that wants to spend $300, $400 on a Sydney Opera House.
Yeah.
It's adults. People see Lego as not just a toy, but really as a bit of an art project as well.
Absolutely, and it is a hands-on hobby.
Yes,
it really is. It's a hands-on. You get the kind of getting something value of collecting something. Picking something up that high of buying it, and then you also get that extra high of building it, constructing it yourself, and then being able to share it with your friends
and changing it.
Some of those toys are just so cool.
And changing stuff up. I mean, you can just do so much with it, and so many little nuances and little changes that make things just neat.
Anything else you guys want to say about the Lego movie?
I really like the music. We talked about it. It was done by Mark Mothersbaugh, who was with Devo.
Yeah, he's definitely a real person.
And he did the music for Rugrats. If you remember, Rugrats had just the fantastic soundtrack.
I recall.
But he was from Devo originally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Jerry, what would you confirm this film?
I would give it a great and a half.
Great and a half. So not quite epic.
Not quite epic, but in terms of animated movies, I just can't think of one that I've really enjoyed sitting through more. That I thought it was funny and it was just so visually entertaining to watch, especially if you like Lego and realize that every piece was a actual Lego piece. It was kind of like, you know, if someone's watching a movie that has great special effects and maybe they're trying to figure out, okay, how they do that. As a Lego fan, I was sitting there watching it like, okay, what did they build that piece out of? Or what did they build that out of? So that was just really cool. I liked the plot. I thought it had just a lot of good story elements, some really good characters. I mean, a great sense of humor that I really enjoyed. It never used like rude or toilet humor, which I don't mind that in some movies, but I really hate it when it's in kid movies. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just a fuddy-duddy. But when it's a kid's movie like that, I just don't like it when they do like the toilet humor and stuff. And this was just great humor all the way.
It was good, clean fun.
It was. And I think if you watch this movie again, I'm sure we'll find lots of other little things that are just hilarious. It seems like a movie that would really cater to multiple viewings because of the neat little things in the background.
If you have kids, there's going to be plenty of multiple viewings. Everything will be awesome.
Unikitty, was that the one's name?
Yeah, Unikitty.
So funny.
Unikitty, yeah, was great.
She got on my nerves. The Unikitty just was one of the things that kept this.
Brad, you should probably not watch My Little Pony.
I'm talking.
Friendship's Magic.
I love Allison Brie. I mean, don't get me
Who
wrong.
doesn't?
Who doesn't? But I actually think she's a pretty good actress.
She's a great DM in that one episode, right? Was that her?
No.
Aside from being very attractive.
Oh no! She was the one who did. She was in Community. She was the one who was the.
What are you thinking of?
The elf. No, sorry, the scene where she's describing how she gets them the dragon or whatever.
However, though,
okay,
that character just got on my nerves.
That was the point of it.
I know it was, but it was just like over.
I liked Unikitty.
She wanted to marry a marshal.
I would have got that.
Business, money, figures. How am I doing? Fantastic. All right.
If they could have just like given us doses of that instead of just hitting us over the head with it, but
there's been worse comedic relief characters.
What's he used talking about, Andrew?
Even worse than that. I mean, half of the cast of Transformers 2 was comedic relief.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And racist, too.
and allegedly racist.
And Andrew Stokes, what would you confirm?
I really went back and forth. I think I'm going to give it a great.
Really?
I really did like... looking back on it, I've been quoting it ever since I saw it.
Everything is awesome.
There's a lot of, even though it didn't live up to what I thought it could be, there's a lot of cool things. There was a lot of in jokes. There were there was some touching, stuff at the end of the movie. I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was really touching. So I'd give it a great.
As for me, I would probably confirm it at a good and a half. It was not quite great for me. If you're talking about the opening of the movie and the ending, I would say epic. But all the stuff in between was teetering between and good and a half.
Wow.
So I'm going to go ahead and confirm it at a good and a half. But that's about all we have to say about the Lego movie. So, Jerry Reed, where can we find more of your stuff this week?
Check me out on theepicreview.com. That's www.thepicreview.com. And look forward to Micro Mondays, a new ongoing feature where we review a new Mighty Max or Micro Machines playset every Monday.
Andrew Stokes, how about you?
You can check me out on Twitter at @CriesJuggernaut. You can check me out in the on theepicreview.com, where I wrote an article once, and you can go back and read that because it's still a great article.
We actually took it down.
Did you really?
No, I'm just kidding.
It's still there. If you look under top 10s, you can find Andrew's top 10 games of 2012.
2013. We put Brad's name on it now. So.
No, we didn't.
And of course, you can also find me here on the podcast. And if you remember the last time I was on the podcast, I introduced a new segment that I'd like to continue just to make my time on here more special. And that segment is called Andrew's Awesome Animal Facts, making this podcast the only podcast with AAA facts. All right? So this edition of Andrew's Awesome Animal Facts, now this is based on the most recent research done on this field. All right? But apparently, koalas have to eat food in order to keep living. It's a little awesome animal fact that you can share with your coworkers, your pastor, whomever you like if you want to stun and amaze them with your animal knowledge. Now, Brad, where can we find you?
You can find me at Twitter at The Real Brad Bell, REEL Brad Bell. You can also find all of my stuff on theepicreview.com.
And you can find all Brad's Unikitty fanfiction at fanfiction.net.
Absolutely. And until next time, from the Hollywood foothills of North Carolina, we are out. This episode has been brought to you by BigBadToyStore.com. BigBadToyStore.com, the place where the Epic Review goes for all of their epic collecting needs.